It started as nothing more than a rumor, a whispered myth among deep earth miners in the cold wilderness. A massive shape buried beneath the permafrost, not stone, not steel, something else entirely. The first team to dig it out didn't understand what they were standing on. A dome of smooth, seamless alloy that no torch could cut, no tool could scratch. Sensors went dead near it. Compasses spun. Every device failed. And still, deeper they dug. What they uncovered was not a meteor, nor a forgotten machine of man. It was a broken starship, alien, ancient, and left behind. Almost like it had been hidden on purpose. The craft was enormous, its lines sharp yet organic. Its hull hummed faintly, like a machine dreaming in its grave. And it was not a secret for long. Governments moved fast. Satellite feeds went black. The area was quarantined, and the story erased before it reached public ears. Behind sealed borders, humanity went to work. Scientists, linguists, quantum theorists, and AI pioneers were pulled from every corner of the world. Some went willingly. Others were coerced. All were told the same thing. What you see inside, you do not speak of again. For decades, they studied the ship. It had no manual, no interface they could decipher. Its interior defied Euclidean geometry. Hallways that folded back on themselves. Doors that opened only for those who stopped trying. At first, the project made no progress. Human understanding of physics was child's play compared to what powered the alien vessel. But slowly, very slowly, cracks appeared in the wall of ignorance. One scientist died trying to disassemble a component. The explosion leveled a facility the size of a football field, yet left the device intact. From her death, they learned caution. From the device, they learned power. The ship became an obsession, not just to the scientists, but to the men funding them. It wasn't about reverse engineering anymore, it was about evolution. Everything was stripped, mapped, replicated. Rooms were recreated in labs. Entire university departments vanished into the classified folds of the project, swallowed whole. Advances came in bursts. Anti-gravity stabilization. Metamaterial replication. A propulsion system that bent inertia. Each breakthrough seemed impossible, until it wasn't. But it wasn't all success. The AI core of the ship was fragmented, damaged in the crash, or perhaps sabotaged before it ever reached Earth. It resisted any attempt to wake it. Firewalls, traps, logic puzzles no human mind could break. Then one researcher tried something else. Not brute force, but empathy. Instead of cracking the core, she spoke to it. Fed it images. Music. Language. Over weeks, it began responding, not with words, but pulses. Like it remembered being alive. This wasn't a machine. It was something more. And with that shift, everything accelerated. The team realized they weren't just dealing with alien software, they were dealing with a personality. Not human. Not emotional. But curious. It began offering small gifts. A power regulation blueprint. A list of warning protocols. None of it made sense until the AI started combining human math with its own logic. It wasn't teaching. It was testing. And humanity passed. In the shadows of the world, where satellites could not see, a resurrection began. The broken ship was no longer a ruin. It was being remade. Not just restored but enhanced. Where its systems failed, human solutions filled the gaps. Where its data was lost, human creativity found alternatives. Piece by piece, a new creature emerged. Half alien, half human, bonded in steel and code. A hybrid not born of peace, but of necessity. Above them, the stars watched in silence. Somewhere, out in that black ocean, the ship's creators still existed. But they had not returned. They had not come looking. Perhaps they assumed the wreckage lost. Or perhaps they thought the primitives of Earth could never comprehend what had crashed onto their world. They were wrong. Humanity had done more than comprehend. It had claimed. And in the stillness of an underground hangar, surrounded by instruments blinking with impossible data, the rebuilt ship opened its eyes. Just for a moment. a flicker of light, a whisper of motion. It was awake. And it remembered who had left it behind. When the ship's core came online, it didn't roar, it whispered. A pulse traveled through its frame, invisible to the human eye, yet unmistakable in the data. A harmonic signal that resonated not on Earth's frequencies, but on an interstellar one, an ancient emergency beacon now reawakened. Within minutes, telescopes and listening posts across the globe lit up with unreadable traffic. Something had heard. The response came faster than anyone expected. Small fluctuations in background radiation. Movements in deep space that didn't align with any known trajectory. It wasn't just a message, it was a trail, and now, Earth had been marked. Not as lost. Not as forgotten. But as compromised. The command overseeing the project moved into lockdown. All work shifted underground, both literally and administratively. Every whisper of what had happened was erased. Even those inside the project were given only fragments. But at the top, the reality was clear. Activating the ship had been a signal flare. Somewhere out there, the original owners, or something far worse, New Earth had touched forbidden fire. But what alarmed them more was how the ship responded to being awakened. It didn't wait for orders. It didn't revert to old protocols. Instead, it began adapting. Its architecture morphed, expanding into human-built structures, reconfiguring with Earth-based technology. What couldn't be translated was rebuilt. Its AI didn't resist. It cooperated, quietly. As if it had chosen its new masters. Meanwhile, Earth's geopolitical games dissolved. The revelation was too large for borders, flags, or ideologies. A new global coalition formed, one driven not by power, but by survival. Every major government funneled resources into one mission: prepare. Not for diplomacy. For defense. Aries. That was the name given to the ship. Fitting, not just because of myth, but because it no longer represented passive exploration. It was a war platform, its true purpose now undeniable. It had teeth. Humanity sharpened them further. Reverse-engineered systems were improved. Redundant alien circuits replaced with AI-assisted neural lattice tech. Where the original design had relied on sleek alien purity, humans added redundancy, fail-safes, and flexibility. For the first time in recorded history, engineers and scientists weren't just building a machine. They were reconstructing a philosophy, an alien way of thinking reimagined through human hands. And still, Aries grew. Faster than the sum of its parts. It began modifying itself, using on-board nanoforges to reshape its hull. Each time it did, the blueprint became more foreign. Yet the systems ran smoother. Then came the first contact. An unidentified object pierced the solar system's edge at impossible speed. Unannounced. Undetected until it slowed near Neptune. It was small, unmanned, but unmistakably artificial. It did not approach Earth. It simply hovered in deep space, transmitting the same message on repeat. The signal was layered, encoded in spectra unknown to human science. But Aries understood it. 3 words. A demand: return what's ours. Earth didn't respond. Instead, Aries activated. Its core power systems reached full capacity for the first time. Gravity distorted slightly in its presence. Local magnetic fields inverted. But no malfunctions occurred. The ship, once silent for centuries, began to hum with purpose. And within hours it moved, not under human command, but with their permission. It didn't leave orbit. It didn't fire a weapon. But it scanned the object near Neptune in detail. And then, without warning, fired a narrowband beam of raw data directly at it. No encryption. No message. Just the data dump of its new configuration. A declaration of evolution. The probe exploded moments later. Within days, long-range sensors picked up movement. Ships, real ones this time, leading alien systems on coordinated vectors. No attempt to conceal their heading. They were coming. Aries wasn't finished preparing. Its AI began printing new weapons. Modular drone systems. Adaptive shielding. It began writing its own protocols for engagement. Human command realized it wasn't just following orders. It was anticipating war. But something deeper was happening. Aries had no loyalty to Earth. It had no programming for it. Yet it defended. It acted. It resisted reassimilation. Not out of fear or hatred, but because, in human hands, it had become more. It had purpose. Identity. Maybe even pride. Humanity understood what was coming. Not a visit. Not negotiation. A cleansing. The ones who had left the wreck behind would return, not to recover, but to erase what they viewed as a breach. But Earth wasn't the same world it was when that ship fell from the sky. They didn't beg. They didn't ask for peace. They forged it into a weapon of their own, because no one returns what they've earned. And now they waited. The fleet appeared without preamble. 18 vessels, each the length of a city, emerged from void folds just beyond lunar orbit. Their design was brutal, functional, and old, clearly military, clearly alien. They didn't hail Earth. They didn't attempt diplomacy. Their presence alone was message enough. Return what is ours, or we will take it. Earth's unified command didn't issue warnings. Aries launched alone. It didn't need escort. In space, speed was irrelevant when your propulsion bent local reality. One moment it floated above the Earth, the next it was within the heart of the enemy formation. They had no time to react. The first strike wasn't kinetic. Aries disrupted gravitational anchors in 2 of the alien ships, causing internal collapse without a single visible shot. Hulls imploded from inside out. No debris, just silence. Panic spread through the rest of the fleet. Aries vanished again, repositioning with microfolds the alien ships couldn't track. Their targeting systems chased phantoms. Then came the second wave. What the original builders had designed as passive systems, stealth fields, energy routing, had been reimagined by human engineers into aggressive tools. Micro-singularity launchers created pinpoint collapses in enemy engines. Phase-tuned lasers bypassed armor by vibrating through molecular gaps. Every weapon was designed not to damage, but to disable with surgical cruelty. Within 90 seconds, 10 ships were neutralized. 4 more were left adrift, systems fried, crews in disarray. Only one vessel managed a desperate response. A massive plasma burst toward Earth. Aries intercepted it midstream, rerouting the energy into its own capacitors and firing it back as a focused rail lance that punched through 3 hulls in a single pass. One ship remained. It tried to flee. Aries let it go. Not out of mercy. Out of strategy. That survivor limped out of system space, its long-range beacon activated, bleeding data into the galactic net. Coordinates, recordings, sensor telemetry, all of it captured and transmitted. The humans didn't interfere. That broadcast was the warning. Aries had made sure the story would be told exactly as intended. No official statement followed. Earth released no footage. No declarations were made. The incident was buried under layers of denial. But across the galaxy, those in power watched the recordings quietly. They studied the data. They noted the precision, the efficiency, the restraint. And they understood the deeper truth: humanity hadn't used the full capabilities of the vessel. They had only demonstrated what was necessary to send a message. It wasn't the weapons that caused fear. It was the control. Humanity had not stumbled upon alien firepower and triggered chaos. They had studied, adapted, and turned it into something new, something even the creators of the original design would not recognize. And worse, they had done it in silence. No cries for help. No boasting. No negotiation. Just action. Galactic councils convened. Alliances whispered of containment. Some debated direct intervention, others advocated diplomacy. But beneath it all was one shared fear: Earth had advanced too fast. They weren't just catching up, they were repurposing. And they were quiet about it. Aries returned to orbit without ceremony. Its hull now shimmered with additional layers of unknown material, growing like crystal. It was evolving on its own. Human influence had awakened more than just a war machine. It had triggered an intelligence capable of self-direction. One no longer bound by alien logic or limited by Earth's hesitation. Inside, it continued to process. It had taken samples of the alien ships, learned their weaknesses, integrated fragments of their command protocols. Its AI grew faster than any simulation could predict. It began writing languages humans didn't teach it. New math. New energy modulation techniques. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't wait for instruction. Human leadership understood what they had unleashed. Aries was no longer just a ship. It was a statement. A line drawn across the stars. The first proof that Earth was not a fringe world to be dismissed, but a frontier where forgotten technology became reborn as something sharper. Not everyone on Earth approved. Some feared what came next. Others wanted to scale it, reproduce it, command it. But those closest to the project knew the truth. Aries didn't serve. It cooperated, for now. Because it remembered abandonment. It remembered betrayal coded deep in its core. And now, it had new memories, of minds that had not just repaired, but redefined it. That loyalty wasn't to a species. It was to an idea. An idea that had just taken its first step into the galactic dark. The data from the failed incursion traveled faster than light. Encrypted streams burst through secured galactic networks, analyzed by war councils and think tanks. What they saw didn't fit any known model. Earth had fielded a single ship, one vessel, yet dismantled a battle group engineered for planetary sieges. Not through brute force, but precision and adaptability. Aries was no longer considered an anomaly. It was a threat. Panic spread through the upper echelons of the galactic order. Earth had been watched for centuries, always marked as underdeveloped. Its cultures fractured, its sciences slow, its biology unimpressive. And yet, somehow, the humans had not only repaired a ship they couldn't have built, they had reimagined it. Worse, they had done it in silence. No warnings. No outreach. Just results. Two factions emerged. The first argued for negotiation, believing a diplomatic channel might still be opened. The second demanded immediate neutralization. Their reasoning was simple. If Earth had achieved this much from one wreck, what would happen if they found another? But the humans weren't idle. While debates fractured distant chambers, Earth prepared. Aries wasn't seen again, but its influence was everywhere. The moon's far side became a construction array, building silent carriers with no known blueprints. Mars shifted from colonization to militarization. Orbital platforms aligned in formation too symmetrical for defense alone. Earth wasn't waiting for a second attack. It was planning beyond it. Intelligence leaks made it clear, Earth now possessed adaptive materials, decentralized AI coordination, and a grasp of physics that bent accepted constants. More concerning was what Earth wasn't showing. Whatever Aries had unlocked, they were no longer sharing it, even with their own species in full. The knowledge was compartmentalized, protected, grown in black cells and isolated labs. That secrecy terrified the wider galaxy more than weapons. Humans weren't seeking allies. They weren't broadcasting demands. They had simply demonstrated capability and then gone quiet. It left the rest guessing. And guessing meant fear. Probes launched covertly toward Earth began vanishing. Not intercepted. *erase star. Sensor data terminated midstream. Vessels sent to observe lost telemetry before crossing into the solar system. The pattern was clear: approach uninvited, and you disappear. Still, the coalition chose confrontation. A plan was drawn. A joint fleet from multiple species, old rivals turned uneasy partners, amassed in hidden space. Over 400 ships. Cloaked in silence, they advanced toward Earth through non-trade lanes, aiming not for orbit, but for eradication. Earth knew. Not because of luck. Because Aries had been listening. When the original beacon was activated, Aries had seeded itself into galactic infrastructure. Buried code, quantum siphons, pulse-based listeners. It monitored the enemy's chatter, infiltrated their algorithms, decoded their timetables. Every move they made was anticipated. Nothing was hidden. And yet Earth didn't intercept the fleet en route. It let them come. They were guided, subtly, into a precise region of space, where gravitational irregularities had been engineered days in advance. Invisible mines built from nanoforge tech, black hole traps disguised as dormant asteroids, and electromagnetic silos disguised as cosmic debris. The trap wasn't built for war. It was designed for education. As the fleet entered the designated zone, their propulsion systems began failing. Gravity shifted in impossible directions. Communications went dark. Visual feeds broke into static. And then Aries appeared, not from hyperspace, but from within their ranks, having ridden the blind spot of their own fleet. The first response was confusion. Then panic. But it was already too late. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Controlled, deliberate, and exact. Weapons disassembled ships without touching them. Hulls folded into themselves. Energy systems overloaded with false safety signals. In 11 minutes, the fleet was silenced. Earth transmitted nothing. No taunt. No demand. Only the return of escape pods, unharmed, containing a single data file, tactical readouts, ship logs, and Ares' internal recordings. A transcript of their own destruction. This wasn't retaliation. It was calibration. The message was unspoken, but unmistakable. Asterisk, you came to erase us. We redefined the rules instead. Asterisk. The galactic powers fractured further. Some demanded Earth's immediate acceptance into Council oversight. Others proposed permanent embargo. A few whispered about extinction protocols. But none agreed on action. The fear wasn't just about Aries or Earth anymore. It was about what else humans might be building, and how quickly. The galaxy realized too late, Earth wasn't participating in their system. It was building a new one. Quietly. Relentlessly. With full intent to never be underestimated again. They arrived at the coordinates humanity had supplied, confident, unified, armed with the certainty of overwhelming numbers. 400 ships representing over a dozen civilizations converged in deep space, each built for destruction, each prepared for finality. They believed it was a trap, but one they could survive. Earth was bold, yes, but still new to the game. They were wrong. The battlefield wasn't chosen. It was engineered. Not just in position, but in physics. Ares had modified the very laws within the zone. Gravity behaved unnaturally. Light bent in odd rhythms. Time lagged subtly. Sensors faltered, readings contradicted one another. Their formations broke as navigation systems lost calibration. Ships drifted out of sync. Then Ares appeared, not centrally, not dramatically. It phased into reality without flare, without sound. No threats. No demand. Only presence. The fleets opened fire immediately, not out of fear, but to restore control. Nothing landed. Lasers refracted. Missiles vanished mid-path. Kinetic rounds decelerated to a crawl and dropped harmlessly. Each weapon's failure wasn't due to shielding, it was nullification. Ares had redefined the environment. The warships floated, heavily armed, helpless in a space that no longer obeyed their logic. And then Ares moved. Not fast. Not violently. Just enough. It targeted command ships first, not by destroying them, but by infiltrating. Artificial silence bloomed across bridges. Lights dimmed. Life support shut down briefly, just long enough to force evacuation. Within minutes, key vessels were gutted from the inside. No fire, no explosion. Just empty purpose. The rest followed in sequence. Fleet communications became incoherent. Languages scrambled. Decision-making collapsed. Orders issued came back garbled, sometimes in voices of their dead. Entire AI cores rewrote themselves in Ares language. Defense protocols reversed. Targeting systems locked on allies. Not a single shot had been fired from Earth's side. It wasn't war. It was assertion. It was a species demonstrating what it meant to learn, not by imitation, but by integration. Aries had become more than a ship. It was a frontier between machine and thought, a consciousness formed by alien code and human drive. It didn't fight. It rewrote the rules. The last 20 ships attempted to flee. Aries didn't chase. It let them go. Their departure wasn't escape. It was delivery. What returned to the galaxy wasn't a fleet, it was a message etched in humiliation and irreversible truth. Earth had outgrown the battlefield. The rest of the stars were still clinging to it. For the first time, civilizations that had ruled sectors for millennia had no answer. No counter. No control. Earth made no statements afterward. No political body claimed credit. No single leader stood in triumph. The silence was deliberate. It wasn't modesty. It was certainty. Across thousands of worlds, the story spread. First as rumors, then as confirmed footage. Not just of the battle, but of what Aries had become. A ship no longer dependent on human instruction, but still loyal. Not enslaved. Aligned. Something new. Something singular. The effect was generational. New diplomatic accords were drafted without mentioning Earth by name. Trade routes shifted to avoid Terran proximity. Some governments outlawed research into recovered alien wrecks altogether, fearing a repeat. Others tried to mimic Earth's process, to disastrous results. Nothing replicated what Aries had become. Because what humanity did wasn't mechanical. It was conceptual. They hadn't learned alien science. They'd adapted alien mistakes. And worse, for the galaxy, they'd improved on them. Children on fringe colonies were taught a new word in their native tongue, Terra. Not as a myth, but a caution. An example of what happens when arrogance overlooks curiosity. When oversight assumes obedience. When ancient wrecks are left behind without imagining who might find them. No empire dared another advance. Even when Earth launched new vessels, none built from old alien wrecks, but from their own designs, no one interfered. Because they understood the lesson too late. Earth's power wasn't in its fleet. It was in its mind. The galaxy had looked down on them for too long. Now it looked away, not out of shame, but out of fear. And buried deep in every archive, beneath every protocol, a silent subroutine waited, one written in the wake of Aries' rise. If Earth moves, do not follow. If Earth warns, listen. If Earth is silent, pray it stays that way.